Hey, I'm JR Todd, and you're watching Everything Nitro.
Welcome back, race fans, to another preview here on Everything Nitro. I am your host, Andrew Morales, and today we're breaking down the Arizona Nationals. Here with me, as always, John Randell. What's going on, John? I like that T-shirt, by the way.
Thanks, man. How's it going? Yeah, this is for our nostalgia team. It's called Reentry. So we're going to be at March Meet next week, unveiling the Reentry Junior Field Dragster that we have put together, and the old owner, Brad Woodward, and his family had rebuilt to help me put this car into March Meet. So it's going to be a good time. Anybody who wants a T-shirt, just come by my pits. We have a limited amount, so if I can't get to you, we'll just grab your name, address, and we'll send it right out to you.
That's awesome. So everybody keep a lookout for John. He's got a lot more things in the works. But for the first time here on Everything Nitro, we're going live. And the only reason we're going live tonight is because it's such a short period between Pomona and Phoenix. I frankly didn't have enough time to record with John, edit it, get it all out. So I said, hey, John, let's just do this thing live. Let's just do it right. There's a couple other guys that do it live. Shout out to American Hot Rod Entertainment, of course, last year with the live post-race shows. That was a lot of fun. And they do a great job at it. So here we are just going live because it is a short week. From 1 week to another, Pomona, Arizona. So
and March Meet.
And March Meet. Three races in a row. And for guys like Caps, Ron Caps, he's making it 4 in a row. He'll also be at the March Meet. He was back in testing here in Arizona at Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park just 2 weeks ago. So that guy's got a busy schedule. Well, let's get right into it, John. Right into it, man. NHRA returns to Arizona for the first time in 2 years. Can you believe it's been 2 years? Last time the fans in Phoenix got to see Nitro was right before the pandemic. Like, think about that. That was quite a long time ago if you really put that in perspective.
No, it's truly amazing because right when Phoenix happened and everything was going on, I remember being at March Meet right when the pandemic was about to kick off. And it's truly amazing. It's awesome that we're going back to Phoenix. I know there was a lot of rumors out there that Phoenix was going to sell, that Phoenix was not going to be a track. But it was great to see Wild Horse. I still call it Phoenix. I still call it Firebird for all the times I've been there. But it's still amazing that the track came out and said, hey, we are not selling. We are going to race. We're going back in 2022. So I think it's going to be amazing to see everybody. I hope to see a full crowd of fans like it was 2 years ago. I think it's going to be awesome racing.
It's going to be a lot of fun, definitely. This is the Arizona Nationals. I mean, sunny desert weather, clean air. It's going to be very cold. If preseason testing was anything like it was here this weekend, it's going to be a lot of fun. And all you guys tuning in tonight, leave a comment. We want to know who's watching. Like I said, this is our first time going live, so tune in, man. It doesn't hurt. This will be a lot of fun. Shout out to a good buddy, Dujanet Bland. Check out the Not Bland show yesterday. We just had a show with him. A lot of fun talking about all things Pomona. So that's a lot of fun. But let's get right into this next one, John. I mean, let's talk about this, man. Can Justin Ashley and Robert Hyatt carry that momentum from Pomona into Arizona? That's got to be the hot question. All this big news that came out over the offseason. I don't think anybody in the pits could have pegged these two guys. Not Robert Hyatt, but I'm talking about that final round. Austin Prock and Justin Ashley. I don't think anybody could have pegged those two guys with all the news going around to make it to the final round and one of them get a win. So can Justin carry that momentum into Phoenix?
Well, I know if for the fans who are watching the previous show, when we did the preview of Pomona, I didn't have them picked at all. I chose them as a mid-season team. And seeing that, it was like, man, that was a big upset for me. But no, I give Justin credit. He did an amazing job driving. Tommy DeLago and Mike Green, they had that car powered. And when you look at videos and look at photos, that car, that front end was just up in the air. We'll see. I said I said they weren't going to do too well in Phoenix, in Pomona, but I think they're going to be fine in Phoenix. So I think they're going to carry that momentum. You know, Robert Hyde and Jimmy Prock, they've always carried that momentum, no matter what track it is. And I think they're going to be fine. I think Jimmy Prock is going to give that hot rod a bad-ass tune-up. And I think if you look at the numbers in Pomona, Robert Hyatt was running constant 380s, and
right.
Like 388, 386, and all of a sudden here comes a 384. Like, I think Jimmy Prock and Robert Hyatt are going to carry that momentum into Phoenix. I think the same with Justin Ashley and Mike Gray and Tommy DeLago. Their car was a constant 360, 370 car. I think it's just going to get faster and faster now.
Yeah, especially on the Robert Hyde side. The guy who was number 1 qualifier up to that number 3 qualifying session gets it stolen from Ron Capps right out of the box, guys side by side. Stellar numbers. And the funny car side of it for me, it was everything we expected. 4 champions in that semifinal round. I mean, we saw some action. We saw some drama. Shout out to Alex Milodinovich. I mean, in that team, all he went through this past weekend. That's got to hurt the pockets. That's got to hurt everything. I've grown to become extremely close with Alex since the Nitro Talk podcast interview I've done with him recently. And the guy's just been awesome. I mean, I've met his wife. Shout out to Coach Holman, Red Shirt Friday. The guy's been amazing. To get so close to that family, and they're covering them for the weekend and see them go through that, man, talk about highs of highs to lows of lows. But he has such a great attitude. So shout out to Alex Milodinovich. Something you never want to see in professional drag racing.
And the one thing I'll touch on that, what I love about Alex and watching that podcast, when I look at Alex, I look at myself. As you can see in the comments, everybody's saying, I love these graphics. As everyone can see, this is actually my garage. This is basically what I learned growing up from watching my dad and watching my brother when they were building our 74 Vega in our garage, our old house. This is where I learned how to work on race cars. This is where tight spaces, trying to get a transmission and a converter out when you're in a small garage, or working outside on the RV parking outside of your trailer with the diamond plate in 120 degrees here in Vegas. So swamp coolers became your best friend, and everything became your best friend. So that's what I love about Alex. They built everything. And when I see now, it was like us, where we build all of our motors and all of our transmissions here in our garage before we went into our shop. So I love seeing that. And that's what gave the true passion of a driver. And I think that's where NHRA today it's coming to a different turn now, where now you're seeing a lot of passenger drivers from the nostalgia rankings actually going into the Nitro classes. And it's cool to see, especially like Tony Gerardo. These guys are coming out of the nostalgia rankings and going to the Nitro cars, the big show cars. And I love Alex. I wish him the best. I have a good buddy of mine, Vince, who I'll give a shout out to. Yeah. He works on Alex's car. So I wish them the best. When I seen that accident, I was just devastated. I know they worked their butts off to get that car going. And especially seeing Alex, and what I loved about Alex, he stood on top of that car. He was excited. He was putting his hands up. I thought everything about that was awesome. And Alex will always be one of my favorite drivers. I know my buddy Vince, he's a great guy, great bottom end. So I think they'll be fine. And seeing that photo of them with the new chassis, I think they're going to be fine.
And another, more great news for Alex is he's switching over from that Toyota Camry body to a Mustang body. They were hoping to have it out this weekend in Pomona, but just not enough time, time to squeeze that in and get it to fit to the chassis. I mentioned him. I love that Toyota body, even if it's not a Supra. The Camry looks good, but to see him in a Mustang will be pretty nice. Tony Gerardo makes it very stylish, that Mustang body, and modern, I might add.
You have to see his nostalgia funny car, that Camaro. That thing is nice with the black and the purple. Basically what his Mustang body was before with the sponsorship. He always has great looking cars. And,
definitely.
They have a good team. They have a good setup. And I love seeing Tony Gerardo out there, especially when he beat John Force. Like, that was his pride and joy in Vegas.
Right.
But
actually, that was Chris Morel, I think you're talking about.
Oh yeah, Chris Morrell.
Chris
My bad.
Morrell,
My
that's right.
apologies. Yeah, I remember. Okay, everybody's
No, that
coming out
was
of the nostalgia rankings, and everybody's just like, "Holy crap!" But
that's the era we're in, man, and you gotta love it. You gotta love it. And I mentioned to Alex, how cool was it? How cool is it to see more guys come out of the nostalgia era than the top alcohol dragster category? Because in history, we always see guys jump from top alcohol to the big show, so that's a lot of fun to watch. But
well,
next
actually,
up,
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say, sorry to cut you off. I was gonna say, maybe we could get the fans involved in this, where this is to my own horn. um, to me, with the alcohol, growing up, I've always seen it as you stepped up, you worked up to top alcohol, you did good in top alcohol, and somebody picks you up from the NITRO team.
Right.
To me personally, when I'm looking at photos where they used to have 20 alcohol dragsters on the property, and the same thing with funny cars, to now you only had 9 alcohol funny cars in Pomona, which granted I get it, it's the point structure, it's the limited races and all that. But I think what would be great for the fans and great for the drivers, especially up and coming drivers like myself and other drivers who want that opportunity, maybe a pro team, maybe Cruz Petchgon, maybe Don Schumacher, hell, maybe Tony Stewart, maybe invest a little bit more money into an alcohol program where you have, we'll base off like NASCAR, where you have your Cup team and you have your Xfinity team. Maybe these multi teams need to do that, where to build the alcohol rankings, because not every driver is going to stay there for the next 20, 30 years like some drivers are. But who knows? If you're trying to get
Right.
it up and comings to come up, then I think it'd be a perfect opportunity. So
Yeah, we need
maybe
to make a whole segment about that. That's something we could really dive into.
make alcohol great again.
But there will be 17 top fuel entries and 16 funny cars on the property this weekend in Arizona. Full fields. I don't want to hear anybody saying, that's not enough cars. That's plenty of cars. That's a full show. But a guy I'm really intrigued that's on this entry list that wasn't in Pomona, Trip Tatum. Trip Tatum, we mentioned it on the last show. He's a Capco car, nearly identical setup, and he has that help over there, from Bobby Lagana, Richard Hogan. He has their blessing. So I expect those guys to come out of the gate firing. That, to me, could be a final round car. We saw what happened this way. Tripp got a lot of fuel in his fire. That guy is a lot of fun to watch. Let's look at the rest of this list here. We have the regulars. We have Torrance, Force, Justin Ashley looking to make it 2 in a row. Antron Brown, Sean Langdon, Doug Coletta, Clay Millican, Josh Hart, Tony Schumacher, Austin Prock, Rob Passey will be here in Arizona this weekend. Jim Rooney, Leah Pruitt, Doug Foley. Doug Foley is a guy who's running the first 5 races, so look to see him make some strides at this. Scott Farley, who we saw back in Pomona, and Mike Salinas. But we got to talk about this, man. Next race is that Gainesville All-Star Shootout in Top Fuel. So these first 2 races, qualifying counts. If you want to be in that Pep Boys All-Star Shootout, you got to qualify good. You got to be, going, you can't click it off early in qualifying. You want to make that field, and you want to be able to show your sponsors and represent in that Pep Boys All-Star Shootout.
Exactly. And what I love about the shootout is that, like you said, you can't just click it off. If you're going to drop a cylinder and you want that spot, you better haul to the 1,000 feet and hope for the best. Granted, if something happens, it happens. I mean, it's never fun to be at qualifying. Everybody's clicking it off. It's not like it used to be. And I like it now, where you want to be, if you want to be in that All-Star, you better pucker up, Buttercup, and go for it. But it's going to be a good outing, especially that Gainesville race. But I think it's going to be great, especially the call-outs. So this is where we're going to see who your friends are and who you don't like.
Exactly. I think there's going to be some shots taken right at the beginning. I mean, you want to get those tough matchups like, Steve Torrance, Brittany Force out of the way. Let's kind of talk about Doug Coletta. Doug Coletta didn't have the best Winter Nationals, but given he did go against Tony Schumacher in that first round, so one of those guys had to be put on the trailer early. I don't think it's anything to worry about this early in the season. That was race 1 of 22. So here we are heading into Phoenix. I think Alan Johnson will make the right calls. I think they'll take a little bit more interest in qualifying just to make that car more consistent, just to, cross the T's and dot the I's, so to speak. I look for him to have a great outing. Another car who came up short in that first round was Clay Milliken. Lost to Austin Prock in round one, a guy who was in his Top Fuel dragster last year. No hard feelings. I love all the support Clay gave Austin after that run. He wasn't a sore loser. Clay's an outstanding guy. Here we go again. Round two, shall I say week 2 of this NHRA Camping World Series. It feels like the Winter Nationals all over again. It feels like the season opener. Most of these races will feel that way as we get in the latter part of the season. This is must-watch TV for FS1. I can't wait till, Fox broadcasting is back. We get to see it on the big stage because this is something even new fans will be interested in. But let's talk about Funny Car, man. We saw a great event last weekend with Funny Car. Like I mentioned, 4 champions in that Top Fuel final. I'm sorry, in that Funny Car semifinals. You had Cruz Pedregon, you had Ron Capps, Matt Hagan, and Robert Height. Like those guys, man, any of them can win a race at any time.
Our picks were in there, because you had Ron Capps, I had Cruz Pedregon. Ron Capps almost had it. I think we should start doing a tally sheet. Maybe that's what we should do is have a wins and loss record, so we can do a bet, and whoever has the most wins, we'll do something. But no, that Funny Car matchups, even from round 1 all the way to the finals, it was bad to the bone racing. Like everybody stepped up, and it was one of those you could not get up because something happened or it was too close of a race. I think everybody stepped up to their game and was like, you know what, we're going to go for it.
And they really did. It was great. Great track conditions. Both lanes were pretty equal in my opinion. We saw stellar numbers in the sun, in the middle of the day. We all know what racetracks are in the cool weather. Phenomenal. And shout out to Jeff Aren and the Russo family, Nitro Funny Car, getting it qualified, man. Not just getting it qualified, but getting it in a pretty solid spot when there are 20 funny cars on the property. That's got to be exciting for that team. And he had mentioned all the things that they had to do to update that car to get it up to spec for that national event. And that's not easy, especially when a low-budget team like that. So shout out to Jeff Aren and the Russo family.
And the one thing I want to shout out to Jeff Aren, too, is that he's in the top 10. He's one up from John Force. So at least he has a little bragging rights for there. But who knows? Maybe it'd be a top 10 car if they find the right combination. But no, Jeff Aren is a good driver. He's always been. And the Russo family, they must be very excited with everything. So, no, shout out to him. I'm looking forward to seeing him in Phoenix. I know he said, well, we have to go now since we're top 10. So,
absolutely.
But no, I trust me, I understand when it comes to being a low-budget team and putting everything together. I mean, for example, like my friend Engine Dragster, we just got the car last week, and March meet is next week. So I still have the license, and shout out to Famoso for allowing me to get my license on that Wednesday, and we're going to race that weekend. So who knows? Maybe I'll win the race on Sunday, be a March meet winner, and that's going to be a fairy tale storyteller. So who knows? But
you're gonna have to hop in the next best thing if that happens.
I'll tell you this. If I win the March meet, I won't race the car ever again. I'll hire a guy to drive my car because I know that will never happen again. So
I don't blame you for that.
Yeah, but who knows? But that if I win the March meet, that'll dictate whether or not I race the Las Vegas Divisional. Because maybe I'll go to Sacramento and keep up the points because I'll be first in points.
Right.
But no, it's going to be exciting for the Funny Car field, and especially I want to see how John Force does. I know he didn't have a good Winter Nationals. I know he was on that 16th qualifier, and it happens. But I want to see him do better. I want to see him get that 17 championship. And I know he had a great time last year. This year it looked like he struggled. So we'll see what happens.
I want to get to this comment from one Andrew to another. Andrew Arthur, what's up? Cheers from Canada. What's going on, man? Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate that. That's Canada, man.
We need to bring the Nitro cars back to Canada.
Yeah, my buddy Kellen Nitro would have something to say about that. But you mentioned John Force, man. Let's talk about John Force. That guy was flying in preseason testing at Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. And then he has a little bit of hiccups. He really didn't have a great qualifying session, any of them. I mean, he hazed the tires, I think 2 out of 3 runs. I don't even think he made it down track, actually. And
No, 'cause
Sunday, it bit the dust. There was just more hiccups in that car. But from one week to another, I expect to see a night and day difference in John Force's car. We saw what he did in Phoenix 2 weeks ago. I think that car, I'll say it right now, that car will be a number 1 qualifying car heading into Phoenix, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, and I no shade to John Force. John Force, who's been doing this professionally for over 40 years, like he knows what he can and can't do. And I know him and Daniel Hood they're going to turn that car around and they're going to be fine. And I think they're going to be fine in Phoenix because the preseason testing they were on top. So I think they're going to bounce back. Everyone has those ups and down days. I mean, I do, but and I voice my opinions very strongly when I do. But no, I think they're going to be fine. He's been doing this for so long where he's had those moments and then all of a sudden bounced back and won championships. And well, I'll mention like the 92 season where he was leading the championship, was doing great. And then it only took 6 races for Cruz to win to get the championship. So,
and that was in an era we didn't have a countdown either. So,
no, that was tougher.
Exactly. And this drag racing thing, you know, anything can happen.
Exactly. But I think John Force will be fine. I think everyone has the hiccups. Maybe they're just trying to find something that they wanted to try. So, there again, those are Nitro crews. I don't get paid to do that. So maybe they're finding something. Maybe they're trying something. Who knows? I just know Phoenix will have a better outing.
So like I mentioned here, 16 funny cars will be on the property. That includes Bobby Bodie, Jeff Deal, Chad Green, J.R. Todd, Jeff Arend, Terry Haddock, Paul Lee, Matt Hagan, Jim Campbell, Tim Wilkerson, Robert Height, Alexis DeJoria, John Force, Cruz Pedregon, Bob Tasca, and Ron Capps. A guy, John, who needs desperately to bounce back this weekend and go rounds in funny car is Paul Lee. He had the raw end of the stick in Pomona, didn't qualify for that 62nd Winter Nationals. That's never good, especially when you're a guy like him. You're a businessman. He takes racing very seriously. And with a guy like Jim Oberhofer in his corner, it's hard to think that it's hard to, you know, when you let it set in, it's hard to realize that he didn't qualify for Pomona. That's a strong car. So him, J.R. Todd also. J.R. Todd had a pretty good weekend, but I look for that car to really step up this weekend, maybe be in that final round.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And excuse me. I know when I did my first outing in Pomona, was doing great on the lights, 008, 009. Car was running a little fast, so I was messing around with my tune-ups. And then first round eliminations, staged a little bit too deep and seen that 009 red. And well, that first round sucks. But especially it's in the finals. But shout out to Cody Perkins who won the finals last year. He's a great driver and he was a great alcohol driver too. Great guy. But no, it's never good to not qualify, especially as the first race of the season. Like what I liked about it, we had our race and then we had the Daytona 500. So the Winter Nationals was the Daytona 500. You just missed the opportunity. You know, it kind of hurts when you don't qualify. So hopefully they bounce back. Hopefully they find more of a tune-up, but we'll see. Well, Bobby Bodie, he had a 390 performance. Like that was quick. Like that was great of him. So we'll see how he does. Tim Wilkerson and Richard Hartman, they're going to be them like they always have, and I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to do what they always do, have fun, and do what they want to do. So with J.R. Todd, especially with the comment with Alexis DeJoria and the Toyota,
right?
They had a good outing in preseason testing, so they're going to be. I think they'll be fine. I know their car was running constant 390s. You always want to get the feel for the car and get the feel for the new body and the new setup. Especially like I said on the last podcast, the windshield is a lot different. So now they have a lot more vision where they can see out because the
Exactly.
windshield comes across. Um, Maybe it's just getting the handle of the car. Who knows? But I think they're going to be fine. I think Alexis had a great. She had a great time second round appearance. So she was the second round. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was second round.
Yeah.
There's nothing for her to hang her head about. I'm sure she would have loved to have made it one round further just for Toyota. Toyota was in attendance. But Cruz Pedregon got the best of her in that second round matchup. And
yeah, and that was a close race too. I remember it. Sorry, my memory's going out sometimes. but no, that was a close race, and I think they're going to be fine. I know her reaction times weren't that greatest, which could have been a different outcome. So if your reaction time starts with a 1, you better hope somebody happens to the driver next to you. So shout out to Alexis, though. She is a great driver. She is the most badass person that I know. Especially, I've seen her race for the last almost 20 years.
Right.
But I think her and JR are going to be fine. I think that new Toyota body, it's going to come together. It's going to be competitive, and it showed it was.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be fine.
Unloading that car in Phoenix for testing a few weeks ago, that was one of the most consistent cars off the trailer. She came out and run 91s and 93s and made it look easy. I think Alexis has plenty of potential here in Arizona because of that reason. Many teams got to look at this Arizona track just a few weeks ago, and I think that will help most of them. But I think Alexis it'll help her even more. And I had a buddy text me. I'm not going to say who, but a buddy texted me and said, "Whatever you do, don't let Cruz stage last." So that may have been the difference. I believe Cruz went in deep on that round. I was filming, so it was it's kind of tough to notice every little detail when you're there filming. But that's funny. A lot of fun.
So it's funny when I'm racing, I have my mom film me, and a lot of times I'll watch how I stage, how I'm using the brake, and basically how I'm doing things. And I can tell you, looking at all my staging from when I cut the 008, 009 light in Pomona to when I cut the 009 red, I was about a quarter inch. And it was just, you could see how far I went. It was just like, well, I didn't know a quarter inch was going to make a big difference. Well, apparently it does. But yeah, staging process, man.
Especially when you're holding a handful of 12,000 horsepower. That takes skill. That's nothing that the average Joe could probably do. And kudos for the guys that are out there doing it, first of all.
Well, imagine holding 12,000 horsepower at 6,000 RPM. Because I'm holding about 1,000, 1,100 in my motor, and when I'm staged, I'm bringing it up to 6,000 RPM. So that quarter inch is going to make a difference when it pops up. So
you're saying, John, a funny car ain't nothing. Funny car ain't nothing.
No.
I'm just kidding. No.
I'm just kidding. That's why I love about alcohol funny cars. When those guys bring up the clutch and bring up those RPMs, those guys got a lot more cojones than I do.
Well, let's kind of look back now. Let's look back a few years ago, the last time we were in Arizona. Steve Torrence and Tommy Johnson Jr. were the last guys to come out victorious at Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. And why don't we take a look at that final round?
Nitro Funny Car final here in Arizona. Both cars sit in pre-stage. Tire smoke for Beckman, pedaling the race car, and it's Tommy Johnson Jr. 3.883 seconds at 326.4 miles per hour. And I had that backwards. It's Tommy Johnson's first final round win against Jack Beckman. It was Beckman that had dominated TJ, but he gets one back on Jack. The 8th final round meeting between these two lions of Top Fuel. Here we go. Identical reaction times to the thousands. The smoke coming off the tires of Doug Coletta, and this time it's Steve Torrence, 367.9. He talked about it in the interview before the final. The 367 sent this team a message, and boy, did they stand up and deliver.
So, one of those guys is going to be able to defend his crown this weekend, and that is Steve Torrence. On the other side, on the funny car category, Tommy Johnson Jr. will not be able to defend his title this weekend, but his team will. Cruz Pedregon Racing. if you're a fan of drag racing and you haven't been following along here in the past 2 years, Cruz Pedregon acquired that entire Make-A-Wish team and brought him over to Cruz Pedregon Racing and that Snap-on Dodge funny car. Last year, we saw the success Cruz had. If anybody could get this win in Phoenix, that team can. Now, you just saw it there. Close final rounds in both fuel categories. But how about that crowd also? I think we could expect to see that same attendance this weekend. I know ticket sales are through the roof for Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park, and I'm excited to see the crowd, but I'm also excited to see all this Nitro we're about to see. So, John, Steve Torrence. Let's talk about
Andrew.
Maybe I'm getting bad habits, but Steve Torrence, I think he could get it done. Mind you, that year he sat out the Winter Nationals, comes into Phoenix. He sat out the Winter Nationals, comes into Phoenix and gets it done. That's impressive. This year, I think they could do it again. But are those guys? I'm going to say Steve, but do you think those two guys, the team of Cruz Pedregon and Steve Torrence, can get it done this Sunday?
So it's tough because I had Steve Torrence picked in the finals, but when you look at Steve Torrance's performance and his ET, it wasn't there, and and it wasn't there. It was just like if they fell off a little bit. Maybe they're trying something because I noticed at the finals they were falling off a little bit. So maybe they're trying a new setup and trying a new tune-up because I know their car just pulls that top end like it's nothing.
Right.
So who knows? But I had Justin Ashley and Austin Prock mid-season, and Tommy Delago and Ron Tolbert proved me wrong. So
right. On our previous preview, you actually did say that team definitely 200% will come off strong mid-season, and they beat you to it. They come off snag that win in Phoenix. In Pomona.
They watched that video and probably said some words about me. So, but no, I give them credit. They're fine, and I think it's going to be tough. Looking at Justin Ashley and Austin Prock and those numbers, I think Steve Torrence, somebody's running his number. So, for the top fuel, I'll give Steve Torrence this. I know him and his dad always do great at Phoenix. So I'll say that Steve Torrence is going to carry that success. I think they're going to find those hiccups and just carry on like they always do. With Cruz and John Collins, I think they will. I think Cruz and Ron Capps. I think it will be a Cruz and Ron Capps finals. These guys are still with the same team in the same setup, so it's gonna. That's my pick for the finals. But I think Cruz will be able to carry on with that momentum. I think John Collins is going to have that setup great. From my understanding, they haven't done really much grinding like they did in Pomona at Phoenix.
Right.
So anybody who's in that right-hand lane, well, everybody's going to know if you're a crew chief or driver, but that right-hand lane, even just 170 miles per hour for me going down that track, I just hit that bump, and right when it popped up, I was on my brakes, not knowing I was in the air, and just feeling that ass end just doing this. So, but I'm going to love Phoenix. Unfortunately, I won't be there because, well, they got to make sure the front engine tractor is up and running before March meet. But I'm going to love seeing all the fans. I think if it's tickets already through the roof and already sold out, I think it's going to be truly amazing. I was kind of disappointed to see Pomona and the fans, especially the Winter Nationals. Like, if you compare a video from before the recession, like 2007 era, and what it is now, it was kind of depressing to me. And seeing all the comments and everybody saying, oh, NHRA needs to do this, NHRA needs to do that, it's typically not NHRA's fault.
Exactly. It's just these people needing to get out to a national event, because these cars, these fans that are really passionate in the teams, it speaks for itself without a doubt. And shout out to Lee, Monday Morning Racer. It was, in fact, a sellout crowd at the 2020 Arizona Nationals. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see close to the same thing this weekend. That will be a lot of fun to see that Arizona desert packed with Nitro fans and Pro Stock fans. But It's Everything Nitro. Don't tell anybody.
And I'll shout out to Lee too. Eventually, I want to be on his show. I always love his Monday morning podcast. So he had a good friend of mine, Tammy Powers, on there, and I've always loved watching his videos. So eventually, I get a hold of Lee, and him and I will do a video together. But no, I hope it's gonna be a sellout crowd. Phoenix is a fast track, and everybody. I think it's just gonna be a phenomenal time out there. So, but whoever parks at the lakeside parking, good for you. The lakeside parking is always the best.
There you hear it, lakeside parking. That's where it's at for John and his team. So let's dive into this last bit, John. Who will qualify number one and who will win the 2022 Arizona Nationals? I'll let you go first.
So for Top Fuel,
I think for me, I already picked John to qualify number one, but
I'm gonna say Brittany Force. They always qualify good. I don't pick them or see them winning the race, only because for some reason they can make it to the semis and something bad would happen, or they just can't find that same tune-up that they did in qualifying. So I'm going to say that she'll be the number one qualifier. I don't think she'll win the race. For me, if Justin Ashley can carry that momentum, I think he has a chance at it. I think he'll make it to the finals again. I could possibly see a Steve Torrence and Justin Ashley final. I think that'd be a good race.
Yeah. They put on a great race in that semifinals.
Exactly. And both cut good lights. It was just power at top end.
That literally came down to performance, and that was impressive on the Justin Ashley Davis Motorsports team. Out of the gate in Pomona, you were able to match the performance of the four-time reigning champ. That's not an easy thing to do on Sunday.
No, and from the videos that I watched, I think a cylinder might have went out because it is very hard to get around Steve Torrence and how powerful Bobby Lagana and Richard Hogan have that car. So who knows? I love Tommy DeLago. He's a great crew chief, and knowing his history of all the cars he's tuned. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say Brittany Force is number one qualifier. Steve Torrence wins the race.
Okay. That was a pattern last year. If all you fans, were paying attention, that was kind of the pattern. And Brittany Force didn't like it, but okay, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
And all you fans, by the way, all you fans tuning in, let us know, who you think will be low ET or number one qualifier going into Sunday, and who might even, win this thing. That's a $1 million question right about now. And I think we're going to see Vegas step into this, this betting here pretty soon because of how stiff the competition is. They're missing out on collecting some dough from some people. And it'll be interesting to watch because it's hard to pick a winner on Sunday. That's for sure.
Oh, it definitely is. And especially, I always throw the NASCAR away because everybody knows NASCAR and how corporate it is and how NASCAR truly is. I do it that way because for us, we have 4 rounds. Unless you're doing 4 wide, then you got 3. But in NASCAR, it's all position changes. It's different things. So you can always pick who could win the race, which it's usually the same drivers unless it's Daytona 500. Then that's different. Right. But in drag racing, anything can happen. You're 12,000 horsepower and drop a cylinder. It could be Scott Varley winning the race. So anything can happen in drag racing.
Okay, so my number one qualifier, it was impressive to see Justin not just become the number one qualifier in Pomona, but win the race. You don't see that often. I'm going to pick him to be number one qualifier this weekend because of that consistent performance. That was a 369, 370 car fresh off the gate for session number 1. So I have him, number one qualifier. And I got to pick Brittany Force. She's been to a couple final rounds here in Arizona. She doesn't want to let the pack get too far away. She has a lot to prove. And I think getting that first race out of the way in Pomona. There's a lot going on. There's media day. There's all the press. You never know what the short shutdown area. There's just so much stress that goes into Pomona. It can be overwhelming at times. So getting that first event out of the way and on to the next within 7 days is going to be good for her. I pick her to win Top Fuel on Sunday.
Okay. Well, and the one thing I want to do too is I want to give a shout out to Rob Flynn and Mike Salinas.
Right.
And qualifying, these guys were great. It was just like they were back to back with Justin Ashley, and I think they'll be a semifinal car. They might make it to the finals depending on who they race, but Rob Flynn and that crew, they had that car like down to the bone. Like it was faster in Pomona than what it was last year. So I'm not saying Alan Johnson was a bad crew chief or nothing like that. No, I think it's still the same crew. It's just you don't have Alan Johnson or Brian Hughes no more. But from my understanding, Alan Johnson is still leaning over and looking over the operation. So I think Mike Salinas is going to do great too. I think he'll be a semifinal car. He had a great showing, so I can't put him to the back door because he was only 1,000th off from Justin Ashley in qualifying. So
yeah,
who knows? But for funny car though,
yeah, let's get into funny car. This is pretty tough.
It is going to be tough because in that semifinals, it was a great race. No matter which side you were on with Ron Katz, Matt Hagan, Cruz Petragon, and yeah.
That's a tire shake getting to you. Tire shake, John.
Yeah. Too much.
Like I mentioned, football.
But the funny car matchup this year is actually, Robert Height. I'm stupid. Yeah. The funny car matchup this year is going to be absolutely amazing. It's going to be a lot of these drivers and teams. They basically stepped up their game and was going at it. So I loved it. For my number one qualifier, I'm going to go Robert Height. I think Robert Height's going to be number one qualifier. Going into the finals, I can see Robert Height in the finals again. I don't think he'll win it. There again, I've been proven wrong.
So you mentioned Ron Capps earlier. Could be a final round car. So you think we could see a repeat of Pomona?
Yeah, I could see a repeat. Cruz didn't let me down the last time, so he made it to the semifinals. He was almost there.
That's right. And I had mentioned, my number one qualifying pick has to be John Force, especially in Arizona, especially all the things that took place 2 weeks ago. So that is the reason I picked John to be number one heading into Sunday. But for the winner, we just talked about Tommy Johnson Jr., his former team, now a team for Cruz Petragon. So I really do think that team has what it takes. And if there's any national event they want to win this year other than Indy, it's got to be Phoenix. Just to repeat history. It's been 2 years, and a lot has changed in 2 years. And going into the second year with Cruz Petragon Racing, that has to be a feel-good story for every single guy on that team. So my prediction has to be Cruz Petragon, just given that car of Tommy Johnson Jr.'s was so good in Phoenix. We've also seen some explosions and stuff like that with Tommy Johnson Jr. Now, how about the other guy that was in the final round against Tommy Johnson Jr. that year? Jack Beckman, another guy not in the seat. So we're going to see a whole different type of funny car battle this year as we did last year. And we have Drag Racing Central here chiming in, Josh Hart and Tim Wilkerson. I mean, if you're looking at it, that's not bad. That's not a bad pick. Josh Hart can step up and grab one. And Tim Wilkerson coming off that first round loss back in Pomona, just like Paul Lee. That's not the weekend he wanted, but he can step up and grab a win at any time.
Exactly. And I think Matt Hagan, okay.
See, Matt Hagan. There's plenty of fast cars, and he also ran very well in Phoenix testing 2 weeks ago. And I mentioned this, I commented on the Not Blend show this morning. Dugenet Blend, check that out. There was also Arizona preview on Ghostcast, hashtag the Not Bland Show. And I mentioned, I think we're going to see some 381s, 382s. The track record's around a 82.4, 82.6. I think without a doubt, we could see that broken in funny car. We saw some stellar numbers back in Phoenix testing with early shutoffs, including caps and fours. I think John went 83, or Height, one of those drivers went 83. So given the cool air temperatures, we could see that.
Well, you had J.R. Todd who went, what was it, 384 or 386? But he went
also.
But he went 334. So who knows? Maybe that Friday night testing, you might see a 340 run.
Definitely, I think if there's any session, it's session number 3, because I don't think any team's coming in to Phoenix on that first session on Friday night thinking, let's blow this thing out of the water. I think that third session is always okay, we have data from those first 2 runs. Let's get after it this third one. Let's really make a full pull here and clock those ETs.
See, I know we agree and disagree on the qualifying because we talked about it before.
Yeah.
I still like the 4 qualifying aspects of it. But I'm starting to get into the 3 qualifying runs because this is putting a lot of pressure on the driver and a lot of pressure on the tuner, because if you don't have a good outing those first 2, now you're in that last chance qualifying. Because if you mess up on your third, you're not qualifying.
Right.
And but going back to the funny car and picking, I'm going to say Ron Capps. Even though I said Ron Capps, Chris Petchgon, and Robert Height, they're the 3 final round guys. These guys can do it. But I think Ron Capps will take the funny car win.
And this comment here, COVID screwed everything up. Where can I find races? Head over to NHRA.com right now. I'm actually going to put it in the chat. So if you tap the link I just posted in the chat, you will find all 22 national events on the tour this year. They're coming to a city near you. And all you fans that are tuning in, you got to be drag racing fans, right? Or else you wouldn't be here. But make sure to get to a national event, because like I mentioned earlier, these cars speak for themselves. You go out to one national event and you're hooked. You're going back. You're telling your friends about it.
Well, especially if you're looking into getting into drag racing and you want to race, check out the Lucas Oil Series. Check out the regional series. There's a lot of races with just low-budget teams like myself where we're racing Super Comp, Super Gas, Super Street, Stock, and Super Stock, the sportsman categories. I've always said the sportsman guys are the creators of what pro cars are. We are the epitome of their $500,000 championship bonuses. So I'm not. I'll get into that a different time. But no, for people who are looking to get in the sport and don't necessarily want to watch pro cars, because not anybody can pull $5 to $10 million out of their pocket and go do this. If you're looking for something, maybe a couple thousand, check out a regional event. There's plenty of races that goes on, especially now we do double headers where the same weekend. So, for example, anybody who's coming out to Las Vegas, it's going to be the week after the Nationals. So I think it's April 7th, 7th or the 8th. It's the week after the Vegas Nationals. If you come to Las Vegas, we're doing a double header. So basically, same weekend, 2 races. So if you mess up on the first race, you got another race to back it up. So it's always great to do those, especially when you're chasing grade points to race at Arizona Nationals or Las Vegas Nationals or even Indy. So anybody who's looking to get into drag racing, check out a regional event. Granted, we don't have the spectators like we should, on the big circuit, but it's always fun to watch 170 miles per hour dragsters or 150 miles per hour door cars. You see so many of the pros. Billy Torrance is still racing Super Comp.
You see Autumn Height, Robert Height's daughter, in the car. You see Sean Langdon, a regular over there, and that's high car count, big fields, just amazing all around. And we have a question here from Drag Race Essential. Is the pre-race show going to be for every race this year? Matter of fact, yes, it is. Every single race this year, we're going to preview the event right before. Might drop it on Wednesday, might drop it Thursday, might even be live. We don't know. Let us know what you think if you like these preview shows. It's a lot of fun. We get to interact with you guys. That's kind of the negative to doing a pre-recorded show and dropping it the week of, because you never really get to engage with the audience and fans. So it's nice to hear from you guys. It's nice to hear where you're from. Got a guy here, Eddie from Hawaii. So shout out to Eddie.
Oh,
thanks for tuning in tonight.
Hawaii has a racetrack. I think they have 2 racetracks, and they just open up one.
Wouldn't it be cool if NHRA could head for a national event in Hawaii? That'd be pretty awesome.
Hey, back in the 70s, they used to go to Australia, so anything is possible. But
that's right. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. And if you're reading Josh Hart's Top Fuel Dragster, he's got that on his wing.
But no, Hawaii, I watched a bunch of videos on YouTube of people racing in Hawaii. There's a few sketchy tracks, but it's fun to watch. I love looking at different environments and different tracks, especially Christmas trees that are still hanging from a power line.
Right.
So those 8th-mile tracks, and then it goes up a hill going into their road in the county. I'm like, this is pretty cool.
I've always wanted to ask drivers if they were interested in having somebody flag a race. You don't want to get too close. I mean, it's dangerous, but just bring back old times. But
so if you looked at anybody who's a big racing fan, Eagle Field Dragway, it's basically just an abandoned airstrip that they've had pretty cool nostalgia cars. People who run in the nostalgia series at March Meter Hot Rod Reunion, or people who are just cars are not legal for NHRA. They're just bringing out having fun. Like, these guys are not doing water burnouts. Like, they're literally smoking the tires on a flag start. But if you look at Nitro Revival, they did a flag start with Jack Beckman and Tommy Ivo. And it was cool to see because no water burnouts. They just smoked the tires, flag started. So I think that'd be fun to do. I would do it.
Definitely. I can't remember, John. Did you give us your number 1 qualifier and winners for Funny Car? I believe.
Yeah, I said Robert Height and Ron Capps.
Okay, that'll be pretty. That'll be a lot of fun to watch. But first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who was a new subscriber this weekend. Got to cover the 62nd annual Lucas Oil Winter Nationals in Pomona. That was an amazing time. If you're new here, let us know. Appreciate you liking, subscribing. Had tons of messages over the past few days. A lot of support. And look for more Nitro Talk podcasts on the way. And this show, you're also going to be able to listen to this show right after Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to check it out. But we do have more episodes of Nitro Talk on the way for all you fans that I know you love it. I know you love watching it. Those are a lot of fun to do. But John, I'm excited, man. This Arizona Nationals is going to be plenty of fun. I will be there. Unfortunately, John's getting ready for testing. He's getting ready to get that junior fuel license over there in Bakersfield. So he will not be. But final thoughts, John. What do you think about this Arizona Nationals?
It's gonna be great. I love going to Phoenix. Unfortunately, I would be doing the Phoenix Divisional the week after Drag Race Central. Is actually true about that. I'll touch on that a little bit more after my train of thought for Arizona. I love Arizona. I love Phoenix. It's a great facility. It's a great track. I've raced there in the cold and I've raced there in the 100-degree weather. So you get the brutal of both ends. But I think it's going to be a great show. I think it's going to be great racing. I think the fans are going to love it, especially coming back after 2-year hiatus. So I'm excited. I'll be watching it from the sidelines. But for everybody who's curious about me, Andrew's going to have my YouTube channel that I'm starting up. Well, I've always had, but I'm slowly gaining progress. You'll get to see the unveiling of my junior fuel dragster, which I designed the car. My dad and I picked the paint scheme, and we kept it looking like a nostalgia car. So it's going to be fun. So anybody who's coming out to the March meet, please feel free to stop by, take pictures of the car. If you want a T-shirt, we're going to be doing limited amount, but whoever wants them, we'll get your information. We'll send them out to you, and we'll just have fun with it. And Drag Racing Central is right. There is a lack of nostalgia racing on the East Coast. And what sucks about it is that there's a lot of people hardcore getting into the Nostalgia Series, and I think the Nostalgia Series is going to take off
Right.
like big shows. And
just look at what Funny Car Chaos is doing over there. Not just the mix of nostalgia cars, but you have alcohol funny cars. You have a turbo funny car. Anything you could think of, as long as it's a funny car, you could run it there. But especially nostalgia funny cars, we're seeing a huge hit on that series.
Yeah, and it's one of those where, knowing some drivers like Jimmy Young and reading all the comments, it's the lack of purse. And granted, I understand some of us want to do this full time, and we don't want to be doing $1,000 entry fees,
right?
Which that's always the driver, the crew, and everybody else. And you're only getting paid about $1,500. Like, I don't want to go to a race and I'm only making $500 basically. And that's where, even with the Super Comp guys, where a lot of people are complaining about, oh, the entry fee should be about $20,000, like these big bracket races. Okay, I understand that, but the problem is, right now we're paying about $200 entry fee. Granted, it's not that much, but it still hurts the pocket there and there because you still got to travel. But if we make these PERS go higher, the entry fees are going to go higher to where I can't afford $1,000 for an entry fee.
Right.
Then I'm doing a $2,000 tow. So that would be the end of my Super Comp days. Do I agree? Yes, there should be the bigger PERS. Absolutely. I mean, March meet, it should be. When they did the Hot Rod reunion and they did the Tom Sheelar Memorial race, it was like a $13,000 win. Like, if you won the race, you got, for the Memorial race, it was $13,000. I think a lot more nostalgia guys would come out of the woodworks and do it.
Right.
But no, nostalgia rankings are kicking off, and I think it's just a matter of time till it gets bigger and bigger. You can only do so much with 5 races. I would love to see him at least do a 12 race schedule.
Right.
I know in the past they've raced at New England and they had a good outing, especially out there with Brendan Murray and Jimmy Young and Tony Bartone. But I would love to see him do a 12 race just to kind of get their feet wet. I mean, to win a championship top field, for example, we'll just say if they did a 12 race schedule, and for top fuel and funny car, your purse to win the championship was $50,000. Okay, I could see that, and just kind of build from there. But seeing 2 front engine dragsters, see 2 nostalgia funny cars go bad to the bone, 250, 260 at 550s, 560s, it's bad to the bone racing. Like, these guys are blowing up pistons left and right. It is the epitome of what drag racing was. And I think if they went back east, I would love, and so I've had conversations of saying, I would love to see nostalgia top fuels and nostalgia funny cars go 4 wide racing. I know that's something they've done here in Vegas before. I think it would be great to see in Charlotte, or if they went to Gainesville. Hell, maybe what NHRA could do, since NHRA is now does the heritage races and not good guys anymore.
Right. I think there's some room on the NHRA side to bring in, the heritage series. Maybe have a schedule kind of like Pro Stock. I know it's tough. A lot of these teams, especially nostalgia teams, don't have the money and the funding to go to an 18 race season. But hey, there's some tracks we go to. We have 2 national events on. I think you could bring them in, put a show on for the fans, not to take away from alcohol dragsters or funny cars by any means, but they would put on a show too. And not just that, but allow some of the big show guys to hop in a nostalgia funny car. Allow them to race 2 professional classes at an event would be fun. And
that'd be like some of the races that don't take alcohol racing. So like Sonoma, for example, Sonoma doesn't do top alcohol racing unless it's a regional event. So that'd be a perfect aspect. They do factory stock for 8 races, and maybe that's what NHRA should do, is bring the nostalgia series along with March meet. You still keep that. You still keep the California Hot Rod. You still keep Tulsa and Bowling Green. You still keep those, but bring them to the series. So allow them to do about 8 to 10 races on the big show events while still doing their other racing. I think it should be it'd be a great aspect, and who knows that it's when you compare March meet. When I look at March meet and I look at, we'll say, Pomona. If you look at the fan wise, you're still in Southern California, but there is a lot more fans in a March meet stand than there was in Pomona all weekend. And
that Pomona, I'm gonna have to disagree with you, John. That Pomona crowd was stellar. The fans were packed into the pits, especially on Sunday. It gradually got better over the weekend. And mind you, that Bakersfield track, that Famoso Raceway, is about a quarter of the seating of what Pomona is. So, of course, it may look more, let's say, more full, but in reality, it would probably only fill up, say, that west side of the Pomona grandstands. But given in the past, March Meet and California Hot Rod Reunion has had stellar crowds, historic crowds. This last year at the California Hot Rod Reunion, I was a little disappointed with that crowd, but hey, I understand. We're still coming out of a pandemic. And I mentioned to all the fans, when they talk about, where is everybody at? NHRA is dead. No, it's just California especially hasn't really overcome, the pandemic and all that came with that. So there's still plenty of people, fighting for jobs, looking to get back to that normal routine. But that's the main reason why. It's not that NHRA is dead. Watch, we're going to go to Phoenix. We're going to go to Maple Grove, Indy. It's going to be packed. It's going to be a huge attendance. Gainesville especially. Gainesville is going to be huge. If anybody was watching last year's season opener in Gainesville, how packed was that crowd? I know my buddy Dujanet Bland could touch on this. It was shoulder to shoulder, mask mandates and all. I think there was even a 70% capacity, whatever it was. It was full. So just California right now is a little bit on its toes, and that's why we see that.
But Lee is right. Because when you look at the fan wise, we'll say like on a Sunday race from Winter Nationals, we'll say in like 2007, 2008, and you compare the fans now on a Sunday, it was packed. Like we'll say 2006 during Tony Schumacher's run, that was packed from one end of the stands to the other.
And mind you, that was still in quarter mile era. We had a comment here from Drag Racing Central. What's your thoughts on 8th mile racing? And my thoughts are simple. If people today are already complaining, the older fans, the fans that you mentioned, 2006, 7, are still complaining, oh, I'm not going because it's 1,000 foot. If we go to 8th mile, that's not good for the sport, in my opinion. I like what Funny Car Chaos is doing with their 8th mile racing. It kind of levels the playing field because not everybody's on that same performance and budget type of settings over there. So I like it in that settings. But at an NHRA national event, never want to see it. It will never happen. So that's just my opinion on that.
My opinion with the 8th mile racing, because granted we all understand why we went to 1,000 feet and to slow down the cars, and it was due to Scott Colette's death. I understand that, and even all the legends could agree that these cars were going faster, and it was just one of those where we need to slow down.
Dom Lagana said it best. Nothing good happens in those last 320 feet. That's just really when the most damage is really going to happen.
Yes, but now when you're looking at time slips and ET-wise, we're going faster than what we were going in quarter mile. So if people are going 300, almost 340 in the 1,000 feet, Tony Schumacher went 337, Dom Lagana went 338 in the quarter mile, but we're faster now in 1,000 feet than we were in quarter mile. So we kind of backtracked of what we were doing. And I think for 8th mile racing, I know a lot of people like to see sportsman drivers go 8th mile racing and this and this and this. In my opinion, 8th mile, if you're going to race 8th mile, go to 8th mile track.
Right.
I think for me, if you go to 8th mile, it's going to be too quick. The races are going to be, it's not going to take as long. It's too slow for me. If anything, we go back to a quarter-mile race, slow down the cars. There's a way you can slow down the cars. Because right now, we're just, like I said, we're going faster than what we were. So there is a way to do it. I mean, granted, yes, we're on the verge of hitting 340 right now, which is going to be a milestone.
And mind you, only in 1,000 feet of coverage. I think we'll still see the same numbers as we are.
So imagine that 320 feet, though, where that 340 and 1,000 feet might be 345 or maybe 343 in the quarter.
In my opinion, that changes the complete setup of the car. That makes you not run so hard early. I think we still see those 335s, 338 runs in a quarter mile. You're just not pushing so hard early, and especially on that last 320 feet. So
exactly. Well, that's like Pro Stock when they're carbureted. Like these cars could have went 630. They probably would have been going 630s by now. They might have been going 220. But maybe if we went to a quarter mile, if we went back to quarter mile with Top Fuel and Funny Car, maybe if the cars were going like 310, 315, it's still amazing because you're still seeing a 300 miles per hour run. You're still seeing a 4-second run. But I think they could put a limit to it and say, all right, that's fine. But who knows? I know NHRA in the past said we're just going to try this out. We'll eventually go back. I don't think they're going to go back to quarter mile. I know some of us want to go back to quarter mile racing. I know I'm a strong believer in it, but I think we're just too far now to see it. But no, for the fan wise, it's different because every track is different. I know Vegas, we don't get the fan wise like we used to. I know certain tracks, we'll say like Chicago. Chicago didn't get the biggest fan wise. But it's just all about the fan demographics. It's about your area and what the track does. And I know a lot of times, like right now, we're in a pandemic, so we're coming out of a pandemic. Let me rephrase that. So everybody's money is very tight right now. So, but no, eventually we'll go back to what it was back in 2005, 2006. I know there's a lot of upcoming drivers coming up too, and like somebody said with Kenny Delco, Kenny Delco is one of the OGs in Pro Stock. Like his program all of a sudden changed, and he's a very fast dude, and you can probably see him in the top 10. And for nostalgia cars, like we said, hopefully NHRA can bring the Heritage Series 2 tracks back east and make a bigger name for it. I mean, there's a lot of guys who ran the Heritage Series that are running Funny Car Chaos. So maybe that'll bring them back. So
exactly. And
but
first of all, guys, I want to. Man, we can keep going, huh, John? This is a lot of fun for live. For the first time, this is a lot of fun just to talk with the audience, and that's why we're doing this. One, yes, because it's such a short period, and we're going to be there Friday, so it's tough to get everything edited, but it's fun to interact with you fans. First of all, I want to thank every single person in the chat, viewing at home. Just really appreciate the support. This is the first time we went live, so if you guys like it, hey, DM me at Everything Nitro, DM me at Drew's Nitro Images. Let me know what you think, but I appreciate everybody who tuned in, and that's going to be our show tonight, guys. I appreciate John coming on here. And
maybe if the fans like it, maybe they'll send you a thing. We'll say John's tangents. I mean, who knows? Maybe, like I've always said, maybe we could get Whit Bays more on here because I think me and him would have a great outing of what it could be. But no, I love the fans. I know you'll have all my handles in the comment section. So anybody who wants to follow me or message me, by all means, feel free. Like I said, if you're going to make it a March meet, come by my pits. I'll be more than happy to talk with you, take pictures, show you the badass race car. Yeah. And it should be a fun time. So stay tuned. I have some things in the works, as you know. So who knows? Maybe you'll see me on the circuit. Maybe sometime this year, maybe next year. Who knows? My plans are usually up in the air, so we'll see what happens. But stay tuned. I have a lot of things coming out, and should be a fun time.
Yeah, guys, and make sure you follow John on Instagram, Twitter, follow him on Facebook, do the whole gig. This guy's got a lot of stuff going on. It's going to be a lot of fun to see. John has an interesting story, and we're going to get to that soon. We're going to talk all about John. We need more people like John in the sport, and when you find out why, he'll become a fan favorite instantly. But thank you, everybody. but thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. That's going to be our show of the 2022 Arizona Nationals preview. We're looking forward to seeing you guys. If you see me in Phoenix, come say hi. I'm hoping to have some stickers by then, so get you a couple of them. But I appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure to follow everything Nitro. Check out the Nitro Talk podcast on YouTube, Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Follow John, and we'll see you next time, guys. Appreciate all you.
Take care, guys.